Okay. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome to the Finance Story, our series today. So, we are a platform that enables people in finance to make better career decisions. So, I'm Shanta, the founder of the Finance Story, and your host for today. We've been running our Career Overseas series for almost 3 months, where we bring in professionals, leaders, and recruiters, from all over the world to help us understand the opportunities overseas and how one can access such opportunities. Our topic for discussion today is opportunities in Ireland and Europe for the Indian finance talent. To help us understand the opportunities and give us a broader perspective, we have with us Martina Gribben, Audit Director, and Alan, Managing Director at UHY Ireland. So UHY is one of the top 10 firms in Ireland, and it's very exciting to get a perspective of what's happening in the Irish market and also in the EU market. So Alan and Martina, thank you so much for joining in, and it's really exciting to have you both speak with us.
Hi, Chantal. Thank you for the invite today, and lovely to be talking to you.
Hi,
Thank
Shanta.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you everyone for joining in, and whoever is celebrating Eid, happy Eid as well to everybody. So let's dive into our conversation. So my first question to you is, Alan, tell us, how did you start UHY? Okay, what is your journey starting out, way back in 1989? So take us through your journey and tell us your story.
Oh, Chantal, when you say way back in 1989, you bring me back to a different century. But as you know, Chantal, I set up the firm when I was pretty young. I was just after qualifying with CPA in Ireland in 1987. I took a little time out to work in another firm, and in 1989, a colleague, my late colleague, Kevin Dawe, and I set up the firm in December 1989. And it was very interesting times because we were in a recession in Ireland. It was the economy was very difficult, but at the same time we felt there was an opportunity to establish a quality firm that was looking to help their clients grow and develop their skill set, have better management information, bring them into at that stage it was just the start of the internet. It was just the start of accounting software, believe it or not. I laughed with Martina earlier on today because I told her when we set up, Chantal, we bought 2 laptops. We were the only accounting firm in Dundalk with 2 laptops, or with any laptops, let alone 2. We had to go to the UK to get them because it was very difficult to source them here in Ireland. So we imported them and brought them down and got going. We started it in an afternoon, believe it or not. We didn't start in the morning. So it's the road ahead was it was choppy because we were in a recession, but the plan was to grow. And so the next 10 years it was slow growth. We had a nice base of clients to start. We continued to grow, and then around the end of the 1990s we acquired a couple of firms, and that helped us to get established in new markets in Balbriggan, where we are today, and also in Dublin, where we are today. So that was a great opportunity. So by buying in other firms, we were able to get extra talent. We were able to get a different skill set. But the big challenge when you buy a new firm is getting the culture right. So you have a set of culture with your existing team, and you put a new team in with that existing team, and that can be a challenge. So that's again something we had to work very hard on. Did we get it right all the time? Afraid not. We got it wrong a couple of times, but we worked to get it back, and we worked on. And then I think in 1998 we went for ISO 9000, and that was a big step for us as well, getting the quality mark. And then with the firm continuing to grow in the early 2000s, in 2008 the opportunity came up to join UHY, and we knew then we were a local firm, and that would make us an international firm. So we took that opportunity in 2008. So for the last 15 years we've been growing with UHY, and we're in 100 countries around the world.
Wow.
10,000 staff and 350 offices. So it's a big establishment now, turning nearly $1 billion a year. So it's a huge organization now, but we're all independent firms within that now. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, so it's interesting. So in Ireland, we are about 75 people, and we specialise in audit, and Martina will talk to you about that. and how big we are and the clients we work with. Obviously, we do a lot of the advisory. Tax would be very big. We do an awful lot of corporate compliance. Interestingly, we're the largest personal insolvency provider in the country as well, which is in a separate company because it's regulated by a separate part of the Irish government. And then we have a financial services company, which is also regulated by a separate entity within the Irish government, the Irish Central Bank. So we'd have to report separately on both of them. So they are both distinct separate entities.
Wow, that's interesting. So, Alan, why did you decide to start your own firm? Right? Why start your own? Was it like you qualified as a CA in '87? Okay, I know it's not way too back, but why did you start your own firm? What was the motivating factor? And did you always want to be one of the top 10, 20 firms? Was that your goal starting out, or it happened?
Yeah, I think Chantal, you from a very early age, I had an interest in finance. I had an interest in accounting, and going through school, it was always something that I did. I actually did accounting as an extra subject for my leaving cert in Ireland, and then when I finished school, I was only 17 when I finished school. I went to register with CPA, and I was too young. So you weren't allowed to register until you were 18. So I went and did the course in the hope that I could sit the exams in the August, September, the following year. And again, you had to have so many months before the exam to sit it. So I missed it then the next year because my birthday was still close to the deadline. So I missed it the following year, and I had to wait till the following year again. So that was a wee bit frustrating, but we got through the exams pretty quickly. Never went to university, because believe it or not, I did my leaving cert in June 1990. I don't want to even say it now. 1981. And Martina knows now because she's working. So 1981, and on the 27th of July 1981, I got a job in an accounting firm. So when I had the job, would you believe it or not, the teachers went on strike that year. They wouldn't mark the results of the leaving cert. So the results came out in October, and university only started in November that year instead of maybe September. So everything was a couple of months behind. Because I was working, I said, no, I'll stay working, and I passed up. And my parents put me under a lot of pressure to go to university, and I said, no, I'm working, I'm going to stay working. So I went the hard way. I did it all at night, worked during the day, studied at night, and did the exams with CPA. And I was delighted to qualify in 1987, got through the exams pretty quick. And but it was always my desire then once I got through the exams, Chantal, have the experience and then go on your own, because I just felt that, working for somebody else, you're hiding behind their brand, you're hiding behind their culture, their values. And, I wanted to get out there. I wanted to set up a firm where we could have our own culture and values for that as well.
Wow, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So, Martina, like, could you take us through your journey? After qualifying as a CA, how did you get into auditing, and why CA? Why finance? Why auditing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess similar to Alan, I did always have a real interest in accounting and business. I did an accounting degree, and as part of that, I did get exposed to audit for the first time, which did really interest me. I did then proceed to join a Big Four firm here in Ireland within the audit department. And I guess I did see it as a real opportunity to, in terms of career advancement, as well as international travel. Obtaining my professional qualifications was really important because I did want to travel, and I felt like by having that qualification, it was recognised globally, and it allowed me to go on a secondment actually with that Big Four firm to New Zealand for 5 years.
Wow.
Spent 5 years over there working in the audit department after I qualified here in Ireland, which was a fantastic experience. And my career progressed with that firm, and I returned to Ireland here and spent a little bit of time in industry to see things on the other side. and very much missed practice element of things. So I returned practice by joining UHY 5 years ago. So within the audit department and progressing to director and signing off on audits, which I do thoroughly enjoy. I think audit itself sometimes gets a bit of a bad reputation in terms of being unattractive, but as a career, I do think it is really rewarding. You get to work with lots of different people, lots of different clients, understand their businesses. It's really interesting, and there's no 2 days the same. So that's something that I do really enjoy.
That's amazing, and this is so true, right? With the CA CPA qualification, mobility is it really helps you, work in different countries, right, and gain access to different kinds of opportunities and people,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Look, it's recognized globally. It is a professional qualification that does open doors for you across the globe. So definitely that is a massive benefit in obtaining your qualification. And it does, there obviously are different local requirements, but that is your base skill set in terms of coming into a professional organization and being able to add value.
Yep. And about auditing, I know a lot of auditors who actually want to move out of auditing. Okay. Because as you mentioned, everyone wants to get into finance, business finance, FP&A, and all of the different dimensions, but not auditing, So we should cover that as well later on as to how auditing as as a skill can, as an auditor, as a profession, can really help you in your career, and what are the opportunities available in the Irish and EU market for auditors as well. Okay. So now, yep. So my next question is, the question which everybody really wants us to address. Okay. So how would you assess, the current state of the Irish economy and its impact on the accounting and auditing industries? Because we've been, reading a lot of news, and we also see a lot of our counterparts and people on LinkedIn moving to Ireland, moving to EU, right? They're being contacted by recruiters. So can you help us understand the Irish economy? What are the opportunities and challenges do you see for the firms as well in the current economy? Like, Alan, if you want, you can take it up.
Yeah. So at the moment, Chantal, we have unemployment rate in Ireland of 3.5%. So that tells you we're at full employment. Ireland, the population is about 5.5 million, so we're a very small country. But about 2.6 million are in the workforce currently, Chantal. So everybody who could work is nearly working. That's really where we're at this stage. So when you get to full employment, it means that we have to look outside to be able to fill the vacancies that are there. So the economy is very strong, and the results that are coming in are very strong. The tax take is very strong. We're going to have a huge surplus this year in terms of the economy, and hopefully that will allow for a favourable budget in October. But the impact on the accounting industry it has been huge as well. And there's a couple of reasons for this. COVID hasn't been friendly to the profession. Um, Student numbers, albeit this year, are back up. It fell quite dramatically the last 2 years, both in the UK and in Ireland. The number of accounting firms has also decreased quite considerably. So much so, Chantal, that in the last 2 years we have about 30% less auditing practices in Ireland and the UK. Which is a huge change in the marketplace. The reason for that is some firms have actually left the market because they cannot comply with the new legislation and regulations that are there. Some firms have merged, and there is a big change with private equity now coming and playing a big part in the marketplace as well. So they are merging a lot of firms as well. So we've seen the drop in student numbers coming down the last couple of years. They've crept up a little bit again this year, but the amount of audit and accounting firms has changed. So when you see that happening, you can see it's just more difficult to get staff. So as people qualify, getting the graduates in at the bottom end to fill those positions again is becoming more and more difficult. And as you can imagine, the bigger firms have really first call in the top universities. So for the likes of ourselves, it's proving more difficult to get. So we've had to change the way we've brought people in. We've gone to colleges We've done presentations to the final year students. We've got them in. We've had an open day here. These are things we wouldn't have done before, Chantal. And we've had open days here in the office to try and show people around the office what it's like to work in the office, get them to meet people who maybe have come through the same college a couple of years earlier, to be able to talk to them, interact with them as well, and get an understanding. So, I think that does help. It helped us get our intake this year, but it's still very challenging. So opportunities, the opportunities are immense, really. The profession, it doesn't matter, any accounting firm right across the EU that I speak to are having real difficulties. And not just in around the EU. Our UHY firm has vacancies for 170 employees. So, you may have read articles in the press. KPMG have laid off about 700 people in US, Grant Thornton about 300 people. But to be honest with you, I think, Chantal, these are guys at the top end who are earning a lot of money, and to try and get profitability right in those firms, they've shed those numbers. But UHY, certainly across the EU and US, there is, there's a real shortage of people to fill the vacancies there at the moment. So, I think there's great challenges, and that's right across every sector. So whether it's audit, whether it's advisory, whether it's tax, whether it's corporate finance, whether it's company compliance, it doesn't really matter. Whether it's cybersecurity, ESG, every sector, I can tell you, Chantal, there is a shortage. So the need for employees right across is immense.
That's interesting. So from what I understand, the COVID, the pandemic has spiraled and has created a lot of firms to shut offices. That's what you meant to say, or they have merged with others, and that's created a shortage of firms in the Irish and EU market. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes,
there's a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity, and there's a great need for talent from outside to or from within to come and solve a lot of and provide a lot of services in the industry. That's what you meant.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Chantal. Yes, so smaller firms have closed down. I think middle tier firms have merged, and even the big guys. We're seeing the big four are shedding a lot of clients, Chantal, because they just do not have the people to finish the jobs. So what they're doing is they're picking their key clients, they're staying loyal to them, and maybe the other clients, the smaller ones, again, they're trying to move them on ever so slightly because they just can't service them anymore, and that's just because they just don't have the people to do it.
Okay, and as you mentioned, we listen to we read a lot of layoffs as well happening. Be it at KPMG as you mentioned, and other firms. But as you correctly pointed out, that's more at the senior level, right? But there's a lot of need for professionals who do the groundwork and who actually work actively, right? They are the ones that's actually needed, and there's great opportunity for them.
Absolutely, 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 yeah.
Cool. So my next, question that I have for you is, Ireland has been getting a lot of attention from international talent, especially from India. Let me say from India. A lot of CAs and CPAs, are considering Ireland. Okay. So can you also tell us about the Irish economy? What has changed after Brexit? Why has there been so many talent from, say, South Africa, India, and a lot of other countries in being attracted to Ireland? So if you just give us an overview, that would help. Martina, you can also add in. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, I think the big cheat here is Ireland has a corporate tax rate of 12.5%, which is the lowest in Europe, Chantal. And that has resulted in 15 of the top 15 IT companies in the world having their European headquarters in Ireland, and 9 of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies having their European headquarters in Ireland. So you can see with the likes of those companies all coming in, there is a huge need to fill the jobs that those companies create. And that brings in a huge amount of tax. So the amount of corporate tax that some of these companies, whether it's Apple or Microsoft or Intel, all this, whether Mega or Meta, LinkedIn, all of the European headquarters here in Ireland, the need that those companies have for people is enormous. The profits these guys are making and the tax they're paying is quite enormous as well. So the economy is very fast moving. the accounting world has to service these clients, and the need to service them, it comes right down the line. So for some of those PLC companies that we're talking about there, we mightn't be doing the audit for them, but we're certainly doing the payroll for them, or we're doing the VAT work for them, or we're doing their tax work for them. Because for those bigger firms, they can't do their tax and audit at the same time. So what we're seeing is we're being asked maybe to do their tax or their payroll. So the opportunities and so I think from that point of view, the economy is very fast moving. I think since 2020, I think we've seen dramatic growth in the economy, and with that growth has spurred on in other industries as well. Inflation is an issue, Chantal. It's right across the world. It's a problem, and so it has seen interest rates increasing, and that will slow down growth a little bit. But I think Ireland is still probably likely to report the highest growth in the EU this year.
Okay, that's great. Martina, would you want to add any pointers to this?
I mean, just to add to that, I do just think with companies relocating and setting up in Ireland, um, at the same time, our population is small, so there is skill shortages across the board, and that is why we are having to look outside of Ireland to fill those shortages. So as you know, the economy is growing, as companies are setting up, there's a lot of opportunity here, and we're seeing it across the board with our clients. With professional firms, they are having to look at outsourcing overseas or relocating people to come to Ireland in order to help with fill those vacancies.
Okay, so when you say there's skill shortages, right, with respect to accounting and finance talent, okay, so is it overall like everywhere they're looking for finance account, be it SMEs, be it accounting firms, be it forensic, like is there an overall need?
Absolutely, yes. All of our clients, the businesses that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, as we sit down and speak with them, their main concern is, talent. They everyone is feeling the pinch, and particularly ourselves in terms of an accounting industry, because there is a shortage in the market. It is proven difficult to fill those positions. There's high demand for professionals in the market here.
Okay, so if you would have to, give a number, what would be the number of, accountants, auditors, finance guys who would be needed? Any rough estimate? Is there any rough estimate?
I don't know. I think, Chantal, that's a big question. It's a big question, because I think in Ireland we probably have about 25,000 qualified people. So I would say, could we take on another 5,000 qualified people? I would say, yeah. I think I think there is a need for about 5,000 qualified people.
5,000 qualified professionals.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Alan, when we were chatting, just prior to this conversation, you were explaining to me how, Ireland, has attracted a lot of international firms, a lot of international IT companies. And if you could just help those watching as well to get an overview of how the economy has evolved, and what is happening.
Yeah, I think the big news really here is, back in the 1980s, when we were going through the recession, Ireland decided that it would have two corporation tax rates. One was 10% for manufacturing, and one was a higher rate for companies that were not manufacturing. So in 1991, the government decided that they would bring both of these together, and they would run a rate of 12.5%. And that has proved very successful. And I think the other massively successful piece that Ireland has done is that they've worked with double taxation agreements with a lot of countries around the world. So Ireland, I think, has 100 double taxation agreements with countries, which means that if they make profits in Ireland, they can repatriate those dividends back to their formed company, where the group holding company is, in a tax efficient manner. And I think that's proved massively successful. I think it has caused a little bit of trouble with the US over the years as well. And I don't know whether you ever heard of the Apple case, but the Apple case, there's about 13 billion of a claim that the Irish government should be actually making against Apple, but it's in abeyance. I think European legislation is looking at that. There's case law on that now, but it's still under review, and they're still negotiating between everybody. But I think fundamentally, I think the double taxation rules have been very good. I think our R&D rules are very good. I think we try to be creative in terms of it. I think we have the Irish Development Authority, IDA, as we call it in Ireland. They've worked extremely well in establishing themselves by doing foreign trips and establishing agencies across the globe to identify key companies that would look to relocate it to Ireland. And I think they've done such a good job, Chantal, that we now have full employment, and that's brought its own problems. But look, we are an island, and it makes it a wee bit difficult for people just to move across jurisdiction, and maybe fill those gaps that we have. But I think we are a country with a real close bond with Europe. And you would all know about Brexit at this stage, and the way the UK have broken away from Europe. I think Ireland have actually got closer to Europe because of Brexit, and luckily enough, I think we've kept a good relationship with the UK as well. From a business perspective, that has worked extremely well, and that has also meant huge opportunities for Ireland, both north and south, as we develop that whole Brexit relationship with the UK. So I think, look, there's 4 or 5 key issues there, Chantal, and probably the government have been very creative back in the 1990s when they looked at, how best to attract business to Ireland, and I think they've been hugely successful at that.
Okay, that's interesting. So, so Alan and Martina, there are, so everyone who's joining us, right? They're keen to understand how can they find an opportunity in Ireland. So we know there's a skill shortage, right? You mentioned that roughly, okay, there's around 5,000 opportunities, be it forensics, cybersecurity, and finance and auditing. Overall, most of your clients' biggest concern is talent. Talent is the biggest concern, right? So how can professionals, finance guys in particular, okay, who are not in the country, how could they find such opportunities? How could they discover such opportunities? Does UHY as a firm, okay, hire candidates who are, say, in India, okay, and or you look for candidates or employees who are studying in Ireland? So what is your best bet on finding an opportunity and making Ireland your home?
Yeah, I think, look, if you're an Indian CA today, I think what you really need to do is look at the CPA program in Ireland. I think there's a great opportunity there to acclimatise to the Irish regulation system. So, there's 3 or 4 exams that need to be done around tax, company law, auditing, understanding the process in Ireland. I think would make you much more attractive to an Irish employer. So Indian CAs coming across, definitely, I think it's a real good opportunity for you. I think again, South Africa, you're in South Africa, Chantal, you're looking for opportunities. We've seen South African CAs coming across, getting great opportunities here, picking up jobs both in industry and in practice, because they're coming across with a great skill set, same as the people from India. I think fundamentally, I think you need to acclimatise to the Irish accounting system and auditing system and tax system if you want to excel here. And having those qualifications would really enhance your opportunity of getting a good position in Ireland. I think your background, your CV is absolutely critical as well, Chantal. I think a really good CV that will tell your story. I think being able to be accessible to an interview online is going to be crucial as well. And I think work on your interpersonal skills. I think you need to think about too, Chantal, if you're going to move. You know, Ireland is a long way from home. If you're from South Africa, if you're from India, Malaysia, wherever you're from, it's a long way from home. And we have 3 or 4 guys working with us from India here, Chantal. We have 3 or 4 guys from Malaysia working with us. So for them to get home, it's still a big challenge. But we worked and give them a little bit of extra time off. to go home and see the families, and we encourage them to go home and see the families, because it can be lonely being away from them. I would always say to people, give that consideration. I think the other big thing to think about is, if you're going to come here, have your family, have your infrastructure around you here. The housing market is difficult, Chantal. There's no point in denying that. Schools, if you have children, you're coming here, you need to get your kids into school. Trying to get them registered and get them into the system can be challenging as well. Um, but look, the infrastructure is good. The facilities are good. I think the opportunities are fantastic. But there are some serious personal considerations you have to get, and professional ones. And I would say in the professional one, it's absolutely critical that, if you're interested in moving, staying in the accounting sphere, that you get in contact with CPA here as quickly as possible. Find out the information you need to do to upskill, and start that process as soon as possible. Because even if you start that process, Chantal, it's going to show the employer that you're committed to upskilling when you get married.
I fully agree with that. I think in terms of opportunities, for instance, those would be listed on our own website, and that is what a lot of firms would do. And the accountancy bodies as well would highlight opportunities in the market. But as Alan has said, I do think linking in with the accountancy body directly in order to make sure that you have obtained the qualification or intended to sign up for that qualification here locally and you're aware of what those requirements are, really does show that you're committed to do that, would certainly make a candidate more employable here.
Okay, yeah, that's an amazing point. So, from what I understand, having a CPA Ireland qualification, okay, it's more convincing when you're hiring somebody who's not in the country, right? Because they have gone the extra mile and pursued a qualification. They also understand, the whatever the tax and the regulations which they study through. You can complete that very quickly. From what I understand, the CPI. If you're an ICAI from India, a CA from India, you can really complete it very quickly. Okay, so that's cool. But now, when you're talking about the hiring in your team, like Alan and Martina, right? You'll have hired some, expats from different countries. Okay, so what, apart from the CPA Ireland qualification, what other factors do you consider? Like, do you hire people who's actually based in Malaysia, who's actually based in India, or they're already here? Right, that's one. Okay, now CPA Ireland and ICAI India, CA India, they have a memorandum of understanding, right, where you could just complete a paper and you could. But what about say people who don't have the CA qualification, right, but they're keen on the Irish market, they're keen on moving there, and they've got the experience. So what about them?
Yeah, I think certainly having qualifications makes it clear, because you can apply for a critical skills work permit here if you have that qualification. And so that certainly would make it easier for people. I think in terms of the guys that we have employed here, they have actually made the move to Ireland, and then we have been able to source them locally, and they have signed up and done their qualification here in Ireland on relocating here. So again, I do think having the qualification that can transition across here has made that easier for them. And you're right, the process is a lot easier having it. It's not like you're having to go through the entire process of getting that qualification again. It isn't a few papers that you would sit here really just acclimatise to the Irish standards and the market here. So yeah, look, I think in terms of expats, we as a network internationally, that is something that we have done. Like, we've got some good experience in terms of working amongst the network, and take people even from Australia or Germany and that have come here and worked with us at the firm. And I think in advance, it's really important that they do kind of look at the work visa, the work permit requirements, and get that all set up and arranged in advance, because you would need to sort and look upon obtaining that at least 3 months in advance of your travel date to Ireland. So it is quite important, and it can take up to 8 weeks to process that. So yeah, you really need to plan in advance for these things. But yes, there is a variety of opportunities here in the market, as we've said. I think just having your professional qualification upon entry would make things easier.
Okay, okay, that's some, that's an excellent point, right? Because everyone's looking for an opportunity, but they don't have a qualification. The seriousness is questioned. So having a qualification does help. And okay, and when you say, for example, if I want to look out for an opportunity, I have a CPA qualification. Okay, the CPA Ireland qualification. Do I, do I move to Ireland, say on a visit visa, or and then I meet different professionals, and then I understand if they have an opportunity, and then I apply, or I have to apply from, if I'm in India, I apply from India. If I'm from South Africa, I apply from South Africa. How does it work, and how does your firm actually find these candidates? I understand most of your candidates which are international are scouted locally, right? They were in the local market.
Yes.
So what if they don't have local experience and they're not available locally?
Yeah, look at in fairness, Chantal, we've done interviews with people in South Africa, and we've offered jobs to people in South Africa, and they've come across and worked with us. So it's worked out all right. We've done the interview by Zoom, and then we've taken them through the process of moving here, tried to help them as much as possible in terms of their visa, in terms of their housing, even in terms of trying to get them a car and their driving license. It's incredible just the little things that you have to do. But we've done that in the past, and I think, look, even doing an interview by Zoom, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I'd rather meet people face to face and have 10 minutes to show them around the office, give them the feel for the place, let them meet the other staff, let them get feedback from the other staff so they know what sort of environment to work in. If you're sitting in South Africa or you're sitting in India, Malaysia, or wherever, and you're trying to get a feel, it has to be daunting. It has to. So we try to make people feel as welcoming and as relaxed as they possibly can, so they can actually give their best. But with us, is what we try to say is, what you see is what you get. We don't play games with people. It's too much. It's too much of a risk for people in that transition from a different country to move across to Ireland is a huge transition. It's a huge decision for anybody. So we'll be hugely supportive as much as we can be to help people make that transition. So again, having that experience previously, having the commitment, and looking at the memorandum of understanding there that's there with the institutes in Ireland, getting that, showing that you're committed, getting registered with that institute, having the information. I'm not saying having the qualification before you come, Chantal. I don't think that. I think you can do that when you're here. We've actually somebody here at the moment, whose husband actually came over for a job here. She's transitioned from India CA across, and she's done the CPA exams here and flew through them. And it was great. But she came over. She was just over with her husband. She was here 2 weeks. She got a job. So we find the skill set. We find the culture is very important as well. So if the culture in India, the culture in Ireland, I think it's very similar in many ways. I think people are friendly. I think they're engaging. I think they want to talk. I think they're pleasant towards each other. I think they're respectful. So I think all those things are hugely. I think you go to maybe some other places and it's a wee bit colder. The relationship can be a little bit colder, so that can be a little bit more challenging, Chantal. That certainly can be a little bit more challenging. But we try to work with people as best we can to make them as comfortable, to understand what we're all about. And we always say, go and look at our Facebook page, go and look at our LinkedIn page, see the things we do with our staff. Let's have a look, a wee bit of fun. And we have a real purpose here, and we have our values and we have our behaviours that we're all bought into. And so for us, that's hugely important, and that's very engaging for everybody who enjoys the firm, joins the firm. It's very engaging for everybody in the firm, and then everybody knows where the respect stands. Everybody knows where the professional career is going to be mapped out for them, how they're going to be able to move forward, and how they're going to be able to progress in the firm.
Thank you, Alan. That's amazing. And that's so true. Apart from the opportunities that are available, you also have to take into consideration if you will adapt to it. It's not just, you can just make this decision quickly. It takes a lot of thinking. And as companies, when you're investing so much of it takes a lot of money and time when you're considering, a candidate from another country, right? And if they don't really fit in, either ways, it's not fair. Okay, Alan and Martina, we have this question from Ankit who says, "What's the scope of internal audit in Ireland from the growth perspective?"
Yeah, look, I think internal audit is a real growth area in Ireland. I guess, as Alan spoke about earlier, in terms of the international companies that come here and set up, those are sizable, and due to the scale of those businesses, they do really require an internal audit function. And I guess in terms of practice, yes, Big Four do tend to, I guess, consume a lot of the market here and provide internal audit services. But a lot of the smaller accountancy practices are getting into the internal audit space because there is growth there, certainly. Absolutely.
Okay, so there is a lot of opportunities over here. If you've got a background in internal auditing, there
Yeah.
is opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I guess having your qualification, having some experience in internal audit and how that can obviously translate into the Irish market very easily.
Okay, that's amazing. So we've got Eamon as well. He has a point of view too. He says on LinkedIn there are a lot of opportunities for internal audit in Ireland. So Ankit, you connect with Eamon, and I'm sure he'll guide you a little more. Cool. We've got another question from Tejas. Okay, this is his point of view. It appears a little unfair that even though a significant number of finance candidates, come from different countries, numerous organizations insist on candidates having prior experience in the Irish accounting. So, what do you have to say about this? Is it true or?
No, I don't think that's true. I think that's probably a little bit harsh. I think, yeah, I agree that it would be nice if people were experienced in Irish accounting, but if you're abroad, I don't know how you're going to achieve that. So I think just there, I think no, I think you should be able to find a firm that will accept your qualification as it is, provided you're committed to upskilling in Irish legislation or tax or company law when you come here. I think it's if you come here and show you're committed to change and adapt to the Irish rules, I think then I don't think you should have a problem finding a position here.
So absolutely. So even I agree. If you don't have the work experience of the country, a little might be discounted. You would have to compromise a little, but that happens everywhere, right? But it's not totally. You can still apply. You still stand a great chance, because I know a lot of people who've moved to Ireland, who've moved to Europe, and they're doing fantastically well. The experience is recognized. So just a little bit of upskilling would help. And as Alan and Martina says, they're welcoming. Even if you don't have the Irish accounting experience.
Absolutely.
Okay. We have this question. It could be, you guys would have covered it earlier, but how do I migrate to Ireland for job opportunities? I mean, this is from CA. Is there a concept of migration?
Look, I think it's important. You have to obtain your visa for coming to Ireland, and you can apply for that online. And then you'd also need to source a work permit, which again you can apply for online. Again, it's just allowing the time to do that in advance of coming, and really trying to secure the job before coming can make that easier in terms of obtaining critical skills work permit.
Okay. Fair enough. Rahul, hope this helps. I have this question. What is the average experience, if you're considering on average, what is the most suitable experienced candidates, who will fit into the Irish market? Like someone with 5 to 7 years of experience, or more senior, or more on the younger side?
I think look, somebody who's coming out with maybe 3.5 years out of a sizable firm, with good experience in audit, or good experience in tax, good experience in corporate finance, Chantal. I think they're the type of people that will get jobs easy. I really do believe they're the type of people that will walk into jobs in Ireland, whether it's in industry or practice. I think that is the real skill. So if you're qualified and you have 3.5 years experience in a good sized accounting firm where you've got really good experience and good training, that will stand to your all.
3 to 4 years of experience is ideal. Okay. But what if you've got like 15, 20 years of experience? If you're seeing that, does that?
That's even better. That's even better. Yeah, that's even better. So, I think, having that level of experience will just show you much better breadth and depth in your skill set. So, I think somebody with that level of skill set, the only thing I would say, maybe it's more difficult to move when you're that little bit older than maybe when you don't have those ties or anything like that.
And I do think a lot of firms would take a minimum 3 to 4 years experience. A lot of times that would be the minimum requirement. So the more experience you have, the better.
So the more experience, with clarity that, hey, I'm really looking at moving to Ireland, really, you'll be welcome. There's a lot of opportunities for senior professionals as well.
Yeah, I think your CV is very important, Chantal, because it needs to tell your story. It really needs to tell your story, and so put a little bit of time into your CV and making sure that it's coherent, that it shows a good flow, it shows that you progressed during your career. I know we can all make the decisions on a job. We can take a position that doesn't go well for us. Tell that story. That's learning. That's part of the learning process. You can make a decision along the way that goes wrong, and then you move and you correct that. That's fine. Tell us, don't hide it. If it's there, show, because we all make mistakes. We're all human. We all make mistakes, so we can't get it right all the time. So show in your CV, you may have a mistake. Tell the story. You know, People will understand you and appreciate you.
That's a great point. Okay, so working on your CV and being honest about your experiences and actually, putting it out there will
Yeah,
make it easier for you when reviewing it and when you have to make a decision, right? So it's important to have it laid out. Okay, that's great. So we've got a couple of questions from Anshul. Okay, so Anshul says, what's the standard salary for an Indian CA who has 4 years of experience post qualification, say in India and Africa, and who's doing say a 1 year's master in Ireland? Would you want to take it up?
that's a very interesting one, because it depends who you're talking to. So if you're talking to Big Four and you're going to be living in Dublin, that is going to take that would be one salary package. Um, if you're going to be working, we're 50 mile north of Dublin, so generally that brings the salary down a little bit, but the cost of living is significantly less. Um, if you're going to industry and you're in industry in one of the big IT companies in Dublin, your package is going to be higher. If you're going to be working with a multinational outside of Dublin, it's certainly going to be lower. So look at a chartered accountant. I think if you look at it, there is a salary survey that's done every year. It's out there, so it's available. So anyone wants to go online and have a look at that salary survey in Ireland would be able to see what's attainable out there. So again, it really, really depends. If you're doing a 1 year's master's in Ireland, what's that master's going to specialise in? But I would say, if you were looking at a range, it could be anywhere from maybe 35,000 euro to 100,000, depending on, and that's how wide it is. I think maybe 4 years post qualification, you really should have a good understanding. So you could get a package up to 100 grand, but the cost of living in Dublin is going to be rough. It's going to be tough, and it's going to come. That's why it brings the premium wage. So I think the equivalent outside of Dublin would probably be 70,000 euros. I think if you were maybe going to a small accounting firm, that salary might go down 40,000 euros. But medium-sized firm, I think with the relevant experience, depending on what your master's is as well, Chantal, it's going to be, I'd say, somewhere between 35, 70 is probably the space you'd be in.
Yeah, I think the cost of living in Ireland depends on where you base yourself. Dublin is obviously super expensive versus the regional areas. But I do understand for the critical skills permit, the salary minimum is 30,000 to obtain that. So with 4 years post qualification experience, regardless of where you base yourself, you would be in that range.
Okay, that's a very important point, Martina, right? Because for the visa, the minimum salary is 35,000, right?
30,000.
30,000 euro, yeah.
30,000. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so Anshul, I think you've got your answer. That's some great pointers. Can we take a few more questions? Yes, cool. We've got a few more questions, so let me just take each one of them. Kamal has, okay, yes, I mean, yes. There's good work-life balance as well, right, in the Irish market, because that doesn't exist in India. So yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, I look at, I get it, Kamal. Working with the big four, and Martina was in the big four. It is long, hard hours. It is rough, it is tough, and for young graduates going in there, it's really hard. Um, has it changed? Um, I'm not sure it's changed too much because the hours are still long. You probably get longer study leave if you're studying. Yeah, rude behaviour is unacceptable anymore, uh, Chantal. So you know that's no longer acceptable. I think those days are gone.
Yep.
Uh, and I think there's so much choice. As I talk about full employment, the employee always has choice. So if they're not happy, you're going to get another job. So you don't have to put up with rude behavior anymore. It's not something. If it happened here now, I can assure you, you'd be pulled up on it very, very quickly. So we just won't do it. We don't practice it. Typical working week, maybe that's a very good question, Kamal. So maybe looking at that, a typical working week with us is 8:30 to 5:30 Monday to Thursday, and then 9 o'clock to 12:30 on a Friday. So everybody finishes at 12:30 on a Friday, and we have a long weekend. So if you want to go with your friends for lunch on Friday, if you want to go with your colleagues or play golf in the afternoon, or go and get your hair cut and get your nails done like Martina. So it's like that's what Friday's all about. Spend a wee bit of quality time with the family, go and collect your kids from school, do the right thing. And so we've changed the working week around a wee bit, Chantal, that makes it a little bit interesting for people. That and they like it. If you want to start earlier in the morning, finish a wee bit earlier, we have no problem. If you want to start a wee bit later in the morning, finish a wee bit later in the evening, that's also fine. But working hours, we try to keep it 8:30 to 5:30 Monday to Thursday.
Wow, that's a lot. You want to add something, Martina? I mean, you were going to say something.
I think just in the Big Four, you do tend to work longer hours, but it is just working with the Big Four, I guess, regardless of where you're based. But in mid-sized firms or smaller firms, absolutely, you do get a better work-life balance, as Alan has said. And I mean, as always, it is a busy industry. There are certain times of the year that may require some additional hours, but it's not significant at all. I guess speaking from experience in terms of working with the Big Four firm.
True. No, absolutely. The big fours, I guess, globally, it's hectic, right? It's hectic. But that's great to know. At UHY, the initiatives are amazing, right? It's amazing. It's so interesting. Okay, that's fantastic. So Kamal, if you're considering Ireland and you're moving there, you know where you have to send your CV. UHY Ireland. Okay. So yep. Okay, we've got one more question about the outsourcing industry. Like outsourcing is, everyone's outsourcing to India and Brazil and Philippines. Different. So, would you want to talk a little bit about this? I mean, either of you.
Yeah, I think outsourcing is very interesting. I think it's something that I sit on the board of UHY International. We're looking at it all the time, Chantal. It's something that it's big. So our Sydney firm is outsourcing to Delhi. So we know that our American firms are also outsourcing into India as well. Our UK firm outsources to India as well. Grant Thornton in Dublin are outsourcing to Poland, and PwC are outsourcing to Philippines. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I can tell you a little bit about QT and working with the Philippines. In that they've put people out there. They've set up 100 people in the Philippines, but they've now had to send a couple of their senior managers and directors out because quality of work is a wee bit different than they would expect back in Ireland. So again, what we talked about earlier on, having the experience to understand Irish company law, having Irish auditing standards, and having Irish tax, it's difficult when you outsource. And I know we work with a couple of outsourcing firms ourselves in India. We've done more marketing work with them than accounting work, and it's worked out pretty okay. Um, it takes a wee bit of hand holding. For us, we feel it's better that we work and keep the culture the same in house rather than us all trying to do it remote. And that's our choice. we've talked to a lot of firms about it, and they're very happy to outsource, but it's just not something we're totally comfortable with at the moment. And we do feel if we were going to outsource, we would have to put our own people on the ground, just to keep this system of cultural values all the same as we would have back in Ireland. I think that's very important for us that everyone in the team feels the same.
That's commendable. No shortcuts. Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. Okay, so Nalini, I mean, there are a lot of other firms outsource, but UHY doesn't. So, but there's great opportunities for outsourced work from the Irish market. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, we have a lot of questions coming in, but we'll just take one last question because it's almost an hour. This is from Bhavik. Okay, he's a part qualified CA. That means he's completed 2 levels in CA, but doesn't hold a CA degree from India. And he's got, from what I understand, 7 years in the Irish and EU taxation experience. So, would he fit in your firm or any other firms? Like it does.
Yeah, I think so because again, I don't know whether Bob would like to become a tax qualified person, or he just wants to be a qualified accountant. So I think that's important. So consider that in your career. So again, you can talk to CPA about that as well because they have a tax qualification as well that we work with. We can talk to the Institute of Taxation in Ireland as well, who also have tax qualifications as well. So I think that is important. I think if you have experience in Irish and EU tax, I think it depends on what sectors you're in. Certainly if it's corporate tax, definitely would be very interesting. If it's transfer pricing, Bavik, I think that would be massively opportunistic for you. I think if it was around the VAT experience you had, Ireland and EU, I think would be very, very interesting. I think if it was employment tax, you have experience in tax, would also be very interesting. So I think, yeah, loads of opportunities in tax. I think part qualified people would be all right, but again, they would be coming in on a student visa, Bavik, so you would need to be registering with the regulatory bodies here to upskill and qualify with your Irish taxation qualification.
Okay. And as you rightly pointed out, you could also consider a tax qualification from the Institute of Taxation, right? So,
Correct.
okay,
Correct.
because okay, cool. And Bhavik, Eamon is online. You can just connect with him. He could help you out if CP Ireland has any agreement with respect to part qualified C, or maybe they should start one, right?
Yeah.
Because because there are a lot of talented semi-qualified chartered accountants, just short of one exam and they just cannot make it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, keep Eamon busy, Chantal. That's what it's about. Keep Eamon busy. He
True.
has loads of capacity. That guy has loads of capacity. He's a big man. He can do loads of
Eamon is, yeah, he's answering every question. He's out there. Cool. That's amazing. I mean, I look up to Eamon. Always quick, on the go, replies quickly, and so passionate about CPA Ireland. Like really so passionate. So
Yeah.
a big fan. Big
Yeah,
fan.
in 2004, I was president of CPA Ireland, so I know
Wow.
Eamon very well. And so
Wow.
I must say, a super leader for CPA in Ireland. Fantastic guy. And funny enough, Eamon, we
Yep.
talked about working in Dublin and living outside. Eamon has practiced that all his career and lives outside of Dublin and travels in on a regular basis. So, but a really good guy. Anybody looking to get into the accountancy profession in Ireland,
Yep.
reach out to him and say, link in with him straight away. He's a really good guy.
Yep, that's amazing. So it's almost an hour, okay? And if it's so, what would you like to conclude? Like those who are looking for opportunities in Ireland, like what would you want to tell them? Okay, closing message.
Yeah, I think Ireland's an open economy. I think it's fantastic. It's showing great growth. And I think there are opportunities here for professional people. So get your CVs out there. Look at the relevant qualifications you have. Look at how you can upskill as quickly as possible. Ask yourself, do you want to leave home? Are you prepared to be away from your family? How would that feel? And if you are one of those people, get onto the CPA website, get onto the Institute of Chartered Accountants website, ACCA website, Institute of Taxation website. Get on there, do your research. Look at LinkedIn, as Eamon said earlier on. It's a fantastic place to look at, and you'll see the amount of jobs that are there. you will not be disappointed.
True that. Martina, would you want to give us some
Yeah,
advice?
no, just to conclude, I guess as we've discussed, there are just so many opportunities available here. So if you do your research and you're really serious about making the move, it really is a case of reaching out to the professional body here, looking on LinkedIn, looking on company websites, seeing what opportunities are there, and getting your CV out there.
Okay, fantastic. Alan, would you want to tell us a little bit about, UHY? What kind of services do you all offer? And what are you all hiring next for in like a minute or so?
Yeah, I think from our own firm, we if we're looking here and now, we are looking for a couple of people that are audit qualified and that would have continued finance sector as well, because that's extremely busy in Ireland, Chantal. I know I was over with our friends in Eindhoven recently, and they have a huge requirement for people in tax with tax experience. And they were looking specifically in South Africa because there's a transitional arrangement between the accounting network in the Netherlands and also South Africa. So great opportunities there. I know our UK firms would have plenty of positions available as well, right across the board. So what I would say is go to the UHY websites. So our own is a wee bit different because we're www.fdw.ie, and so Farrelly Dawe. So our firm name is UHY Farrelly Dawe. Chantal. So if people want to go and have a look at our website today, the jobs that we have available and open are there today for people to have a look at. I think in relation to UHY, go on to UHY International, you'll see all the countries there, and you'll be able to go on to each firm and link in with the HR people in those firms. Loads of opportunities right across the UHY now.
That's exciting news. So everyone, check out UHY Farrelly Dawe. Okay, I'll put on the link when I make an article out of this. I'll share the article, the link with you. I'll also put it up on the video context right now. And if you're in Ireland and you're qualified, do apply. And if they have an opportunity, they'll definitely get back. So yep. So overall, it's a great market, great opportunities for every kind of role. Okay, if you have a CPA qualification or any kind of local qualification, it really helps. And if you're available locally, it makes a lot more sense than sourcing candidates from other countries. Though that happens a lot more times. And contact Eamon if that's not happening and you have a CPA Ireland qualification. Contact Eamon. Okay, cool. Alan and Martina, thank you so much for the time. I mean, means so much, and it was a great session. I learned so much. I learned a lot. So
That's
yeah.
great. Anytime, look, we'll be delighted to talk to you at any time. And thank you for the opportunity. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you so much. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining in. I'm sorry for the initial glitch that happened in the start, but my screen did freeze. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Take care. Thank you. Thank you everyone. Bye.